When I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag. When I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag. And then it goes back, and then it goes back, and then it goes back.
Thanks for inviting me to participate in the ReThink organization and your efforts to really inform the people of the United States, as well as in our global community, the importance of getting to the bottom of what happened on that fateful date of September 11th, 2001. There are lots of people who literally stopped what they were doing and became full-time researchers on this because they were traumatized by what they saw, and they said, I've got to get to the bottom of it. And the government's explanation did not provide closure. A lot of people tend to believe the pronouncements of their government, and they tend to believe the presentation of what is framed as news by their regular news outlets. But the message that I have for the global community is that the United States has long used media outlets. The United States government has long used media outlets for its own purposes, and those media allowed themselves to be used. Now, of course, we have a court ruling inside the U.S. court systems that said that U.S. media outlets did not have a responsibility to tell the truth. That meant that U.S. courts have said that it is okay for media outlets to knowingly lie to the people who rely on them for information. This is a critical point. People must understand that if they hear it from CNN and if they hear it from Fox, they might as well be listening to the Pentagon.
When I get older, I will be stronger.
On Building 7, what I would say is that's a clue.
This is a building that fell just moments ago. It had been burning for hours. There's Building 7, 47 stories down to the ground.
And I turned in time to see what looked like a skyscraper implosion. It looked like it had been done by a demolition crew. The whole thing just collapsing down on itself.
For the third time today, it's reminiscent of those pictures we've all seen too much on television before, when a building was deliberately destroyed by well-placed dynamite to knock it down.
It was almost as if it were a planned implosion. It just pancaked.
At the end of the day, I think it was the BBC that gave us the biggest clue. And that clue was that the BBC announced the fall of Building 7 before it actually fell.
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were. And it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy. There's almost a sense downtown in New York behind me, down by the World Trade Centers, of just an area completely closed off as the rescue workers try to do their job. But this isn't the first building that has suffered as a result. We know that part of the Marriott Hotel next to the World Trade Center also collapsed as a result of this huge amount of falling debris from 110 floors of the two twin towers of the World Trade Center. As you can see behind me, the Trade Center appears to be still burning.
It's now, what, some 8 hours since the attacks. Is there any estimate yet available of the number of casualties in the World Trade Center?
I think we can only go at this point with the words expressed by the mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani, that it's too frightening to think how many there could be.
Jane, I think many of us, when we heard the news, perhaps on the radio earlier today, were completely flabbergasted by it and just couldn't comprehend it. I mean, it almost sounded too far-fetched. I was wondering what it's felt like for you being in Manhattan. Well, unfortunately, I think we've lost the line with Jane Stanley in Manhattan. Perhaps we can rejoin her and follow that up later. Across America, citizens are trying to come to grips with the enormity of what has happened.
Saliba, again, as you're talking, news is continuing to come in, as you can imagine. We're now being told that yet another enormous building in New York has collapsed. It is the 47-story Salomon Brothers building, which was situated very close to the World Trade Center, right there in this financial capital. Professor Liebe, the implications of what you were saying is...
So there's a lot that needs to be investigated. Be the media, be the change. Rethink 911, investigate Building 7.
They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag.